everybody. Welcome to the Elevate Talk Show. I am your host, Deanna Johnson Cauthen.
And I'm Adrianna Cauthen, your co-host, and we're the mother-daughter talk show that's here to elevate your family. If you haven't done so already, please take a second to like this video and to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.
Yes. And we are in a new season 4 of the Elevate Talk Show. And we have some new and exciting things on the show for you this season, including some live streams. So make sure that you look for us on your YouTube feed. Adriana, what do we have planned for this week?
Yes, so in this week's Around the Town, we're going to take you to Westside Park, which is the largest green space in the city of Atlanta. In this week's conversation segment, my mom will be sitting down with Carlos Tellez and Peter Yu to talk about how the church responds to mental health issues. And in our new fashion hacks segment, I'm going to be talking about how you can dress stylishly even if the current trends don't work for your body type.
Right, that's right. All of that. And we will be doing our wonderful meal of the week. Adriana will take us through our paces. She is going to teach you guys, how to make a delicious, succulent chicken Parmesan. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That's right. So we have a lot planned for the show. We have to take a break. Don't go away. We will be back. Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. In our conversation segment, we are going to be talking about all things mental health. We decided since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, that we would dedicate the shows in this month to mental health issues. And when I speak about mental health issues, understand that I'm not just talking about people who have been diagnosed with a specific mental health illness, disorder. I'm talking about mental health broadly as it relates to all of us, because we all have mental health to maintain. So with that in mind, I want to introduce you to our guest today. It would be Reverend Carlos Tellez. Reverend Tellez is the Assistant Professor of Intercultural Studies at Northwestern University, which is in St. Paul, Minnesota. And we'll also be talking with Reverend Peter Yu, who is the Head of Discipleship and Pastoral Resident at New City Church in Newton, Massachusetts. They both were former pastors at Grace Church of Northeast Atlanta, here in Atlanta, Georgia. My former pastor, so I know these fellas pretty well. Terrific guys. And we're going to be talking about how the church, what the church has done in regards to mental health. How has the church responded in this topic of mental health and mental illness? So, yeah.
Yeah, so please take a look at today's interview.
Well, Pete, you and Carlos Tellez, thank y'all so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to talk about mental health as it relates to the church. You are two of my favorite pastors, and I mean that. And just two really great guys. And I'm just feeling privileged and honored to be able to pick your brains about this topic. We've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go ahead and get straight into the interview. Several years ago, a close family member of mine, experienced a mental health crisis and had to be hospitalized. After being evaluated, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so it was a pretty intense situation. Well, a few Sundays later, I went to church and I was talking to a church member. I won't say her name. And she assumed that my family member was not a Christian because of her mental illness. She even insinuated that she might have some sort of demon that needed to be cast out. So here's my question. When it comes to physical illness, people of faith leaders, church leaders, regularly encourage their parishioners to go to a cardiologist if they have heart problems, to go to gastroenterologists, to take any medications that need to be taken. If they've got cancer, to do whatever they need to do to get healthy with that. Yet when it comes to mental illness, we treat it like some sort of spiritual moral failure that needs to be fixed through prayer and repentance. Why isn't mental illness treated more like a physical illness?
No, this is a really important topic. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is there's been a lot of stigma around psychology. I think some people take a kind of us versus them mentality when it comes to faith and psychology, and this has a history to it.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, there is this us versus them, or this idea that you have biblical things and then you have psychological things. Of course, I don't believe that. And so, and along with that, there is this notion that counseling, because it's connected to psychology, then it's also viewed as suspect, or people say, well, that comes, people will attach names like Sigmund Freud, or attach other names and take all the philosophies that those people had and said, well, they're anti-Christian philosophies, therefore we cannot participate in those philosophies. And then they turn to something called, some people refer to it as biblical counseling. And biblical counseling is it's basically counseling from biblical principles. But then within that, there are people who could be called integrationists, that take biblical principles and attach them to psychology. And then there are others that would say, no, biblical counseling does not do anything with psychology and completely separates it.
Wow.
And so I think there's a lot of stigma, and depending on what kind of church you go to, you may get different responses as to how people approach it. So this, I think this comes down to that stigma between psychology and faith. That's what I would say.
Yeah, Pete, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with Carlos. And to add on that, I think just the general societal stigma that there has been around mental illness and the church shying away from hard things, cultural things, rather than trying to navigate it for the help of those people, that population.
Yeah.
So I think the stigma around it itself has been a barrier to the church really dealing with it, rather than showing.
Hey, and if I can add to that, Pete, I think you touched on a very good point. Society has a stigma, and then typically it takes the church a bit longer to overcome its stigmas, right? So whatever society stigmas are, the church, just because for a number of reasons, the church will just trail behind in catching up with us.
I was talking to Andrew, my husband, about this. And so we've talked about that, amongst ourselves, because I'm like, where is that coming from? And he mentioned, the scriptures in the New Testament, where Jesus comes and, casts out demons. So I just think it's all mixed up in there together. So you mix the stigma with the ignorance and you just have a nasty situation.
Yeah, and to go along with that, I think people either over spiritualize, like everything is a demon, or under spiritualize, where there is no spiritual world, and it's all just
this is true. So that's the other extreme.
So those are the extremes people, I think, tend towards, and
absolutely,
healthy middle.
And it's also true that, I mean, if we're going to go to the Bible, we talk about there were people that seemed to have a demon, and the demon took over them, and then it seemed like there were these manifestations, right? But we also have to recognize that also happens in the physical realm as well, right?
That's
right. So if Jesus came and healed both the physical and the spiritual, and the emotional, I mean, just because a demon took over, which I do actually believe happens, I think we can still, just like Pete said, we can still recognize that there are illnesses that can come from demonic influence.
True. That's true.
But that doesn't mean that every illness comes from demonic influence.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that. And they're just like physical illnesses. And it's the same thing. We need to just recognize that.
I love that. I love that explanation. Let me move on. This is another story. Recently, a pastor friend of mine mistakenly sent out, I'm on an email chain from another pastor who sends emails out and updates about prayer requests that he needs for his ministry. It's a very large email chain. And recently, another pastor thought he was sending a private email to this pastor, but inadvertently, he sent it to everybody on the chain, 340 people. And basically the email consisted of, the niceties of, hello, we haven't talked in a long time, but I want to give you a heads up about this couple that's been coming to my church. And they're going to be moving closer to your area, and they're looking for a church. But the husband, he's a pretty laid back guy, really nice, pretty cool cat, very unassuming. The wife is a strange bird, though. This is what it said. She has bipolar disorder. She's depressed. She's dealing with serious depression. She's on XYZ meds. And she's very overwhelming to talk to. She's overbearing. I believe they're Christians. I think she's a Christian, blah, blah, blah. He went on to talk about other details of who they were and all this. Now that went out to all these people, one of which I was. And so my point in telling you this story was it reeked of, first of all, it was very careless, but even beyond that, of lack of compassion for this woman who's already depressed and who revealed her illness to him. There was just no sense of, it was just callous and lack of compassion. And so having said that, the church should be a safe place for people who are struggling with a mental illness to go to for support. But unfortunately, many times it's not. What steps do we need to do as a body, as a church, as church leaders to rectify this? I know there are probably no simple answers, but just wanting to pick your brains about that.
Yeah, so I think just the ethical component of confidentiality is important, especially for church leaders, and training the leadership team and parishioners about that and the importance of that. And then also having good context of how to help the people and creating community for them in whatever way possible, and have empathy. Just think about the person and being empathetic before you act. Especially on these types of sensitive matters are very
huge.
Key, I believe.
I want to hear what Carlos has to say about this.
I think one of the challenges we have is, what is the church for, right? I think depending on the church you go to, you'll have different emphases. So I think the church that you're going to matters, and it's going to be a different response. I think there's also a reality that some churches are very driven to grow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if you are very driven to grow, I think it's going to be really hard for you to be mindful of people that in your mind make you not grow as fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a challenge. And so I think it's going to slow you down.
Yes.
But that's why I say we need to back up and see, like, what are the essential functions of the church?
Yes.
And just ask the question. I mean, are we committed to the essential functions of the church?
Yes.
To the detriment of potentially growing?
Yes. And alienating people.
Yeah. And so, and again, this is it's a challenge because there are realities that make a church have to grow. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But when these difficult situations come, how do you handle them, and what kind of time do you devote to them? Because I think for pastors, and we'll talk about pastors. I know that we're going to talk about pastors.
Yes.
Pastors are typically already overstretched or stretched thin because of all those things. And so I think when you think, where do I devote my time? Then sometimes the pragmatics of budgets and growth and all those things take over.
And
then there's that whole there's that whole like over spiritualization. It's just saving souls. Just give the message of Jesus and that's it. And instead of thinking holistically about the community and those who are hurting and those dealing with some deep issues.
I want to address this question. I'm skipping over one to make sure I address it. This depression, anxiety, and burnout is a big deal for pastors. As you guys know, you've both been pastors. And a recent survey on the web indicates that the depression rate among clergy members is 11.1%, which is double the national rate of 5.5%. So you both having served as pastors, can you speak about mental health issues as it relates to pastors? And who does a pastor go to when they're depressed? Pete?
Yeah, ministry is not easy.
It's tough.
Easy to burn out. I think that whole self-care and
Yes.
mental health is very important.
Big. It's
So
big. It's big. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
It's we have a phrase in Spanish
Yes.
that basically says that says that doctors also get sick, right?
Yes.
Doctors have to go to the doctor,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and actually, pastors should be the first
Yes.
to recognize
Yes.
whenever there's an issue internally.
Yeah.
That should be like, if you are able to see it in others, then we should able to recognize, like,
Exactly.
we're broken, we're feeble,
Yes.
we are weak.
Yes.
And that weakness, as Paul says, that weakness is actually our strength. So recognizing it, like Pete said, talking about it, and
Yes.
actually taking the step and going to counseling, and then
Yes.
tell people that you're
Yes.
going to counseling.
Yes,
right?
that's a
And
good
tell people-
word. But I just think y'all, because I think you touched on a lot of really good stuff. I think I think this interview is going to resonate with a lot of people. That's why I wanted to do it. Thank y'all for taking time out your schedule. I love you both, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Deanna.
All right,
I
be
Thank
good
love
to
you
me.
too.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. And in today's Fashion Hacks and Tips segment, I'm going to be talking about ways you can dress stylishly even if the current trends don't work for your body type.
Exactly. I think sometimes we try to stick square pegs into round holes, and with 6 billion people on the earth, the likelihood that every trend is going to work for everybody all the time is pretty much slim to none.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, you have to learn how to modify it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please take a look at this week's Fashion Hacks and Tips video.
Hello and welcome to our Fashion Hacks and Tips segment. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can dress stylishly even if the current trends don't work for your body type. So there are 3 main options as far as things you can do to dress stylishly if the trends don't work for your body type. So the first thing that you can do is to buy classic timeless pieces like little black dresses, skinny jeans, button-up tops, skirts in like solid colors, things like that. That will allow you to have a nice timeless aesthetic so that you don't have to worry about whatever trends are out on the market. So your second option for dressing stylishly when the trends don't work for your body type is to modify the trend or to find small ways to incorporate the trend into your wardrobe. For example, one look that is very popular right now is the whole cottagecore look. Everybody likes the flowy dresses and the ruffles and the frills and the pastel colors, but all those ruffles and frills don't work on certain body types, especially for people who look better in clean lines. So there are other ways you can incorporate that look in small ways. For example, you could buy a nice floral print handbag like the one in this picture. Or you could wear structured pieces in pastel colors so that you can have that airy, carefree look, but still have, the nice clean lines if that suits your body type better. Well, I hope these fashion tips are helpful for you, and I hope you're able to use them and incorporate them into your life. And I can't wait to see you in our next Fashion Hacks and Tips segment.
Westside Park. This is in the city of Atlanta, and it's considered city of Atlanta's largest green space. We visited there several months ago. Beautiful space, beautiful place, lots of room to walk and run and rollerblade and ride a bike, just all things recreational. So please turn your attention to our time at Westside Park in the city of Atlanta. This week, the Elevate Talk Show takes you around the town to Westside Park, City of Atlanta's largest green space.
Westside Park, which is located at 1660 Johnson Road in Northwest Atlanta, has two entrances off of Johnson Road, the iconic dinosaur ribcage entry and the driveway near the cell phone tower. Westside Park offers an adventure for those who love being out in nature. Whether it's walking, cycling, or just a photographic opportunity, there are over 280 acres of green space and trails for those who love the great outdoors. The park provides signage and well-designed graphics to enhance pedestrian and bicycle traffic. The park also has elements that include educational facilities and venues for events. Westside Park, which opened in August of 2021, is located at the Bellwood Quarry Reservoir, which holds 2.4 billion gallons of emergency drinking water for City of Atlanta residents. Additionally, the park's grand overlook offers the public breathtaking panoramic views of the reservoir and the Atlanta skyline. Another notable mention is that the park's 400-foot deep quarry is a popular filming location, and it can be seen in movies such as The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, and The Hunger Games. As the population of Atlanta continues to grow, the need for public green spaces will have to increase accordingly, and the development of the Westside Park takes a giant step forward in that direction. For more information about Westside Park, visit www.westsidepark-atl.com.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our adventures at Westside Park. We need to take a break. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. And in this week's Meal of the Week segment, I'm going to be showing you how to make a really easy chicken parmesan recipe.
Yes, we actually had that this week. She made it and tested it and we were able to try it. It was delicious, perfect. I felt like an Italian after eating it all. And so definitely want to try this recipe. So turn your attention to Adrianna's Meal of the Week.
Hello and welcome to our Meal of the Week segment. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make chicken parmesan. So let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to start off by making the breading and seasoning our chicken. So right here I have 3 cups of breadcrumbs. You can just take any type of bread you have access to and just run it through your blender or food processor and it'll make nice breadcrumbs. And I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So I'm just going to dump that in there, and then I'm going to mix our flour and our breadcrumbs. So now I'm just going to set this aside for the next step. So now let's take our chicken. So I'm just going to lay this out here on the cutting board. So I have 3 chicken breasts that I have cut in half and pounded out so that they're nice and thin. And I'm going to season them with some salt, some black pepper, some garlic powder, and a little bit of dried oregano. Alright, so now that we've seasoned our chicken, we're going to move on to the next step. Alright, so next it's time to move on to cooking the chicken. So what I'm going to do is make a mixture of 1 cup of milk and 2 eggs. I'm going to dip the chicken in this before I coat them in the flour breadcrumb mixture. Egg is having a little trouble getting out. There we go. So now I'm just going to take a whisk and I'm just going to whisk this together. Alright, so I've got a pan with about a 1/2 inch of oil that is on medium high, and I'm going to dip my chicken in the milk egg mixture, and now I'm just going to dip it in the breadcrumbs. Just gonna dip it back in the mixture a little bit so I can stick on some more breadcrumbs. And now I'm going to stick this in the oil. So I'm just gonna repeat this for all of the pieces of chicken. And I'm gonna let them cook until they're golden brown on both sides. Alright, so I finished cooking the chicken and it's all nice and brown. So now we're going to finish it off in the oven. So I'm just gonna take the chicken and lay it on this pan right here. And now I'm gonna grab some homemade marinara sauce. You can use some spaghetti sauce that you got at the store, or you can make your own. And I'm just gonna take about a 1/4 cup of the sauce and put that on top of each piece of chicken. Alright, so now I have here about 3 cups of mozzarella mixed with a cup of Parmesan cheese, and I'm just going to take that and sprinkle some on top of each piece of chicken. Just going to make sure there's plenty of cheese because we want this to be nice and cheesy. Alright, so now I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, and I'll be back to show you the final result. Alright, so our chicken parmesan is ready and it looks really delicious. I'm going to give you a close-up shot so that you can see how good it looks. Well, I hope you enjoyed that recipe, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Almost over, but before we go, we have a couple of things that we'd like to share with you. First of all, we've looked at our video analytics and we've noticed that a large percentage of you people that are watching our show every week are not subscribing. You know exactly who you are, yes, and you need to get on your computers and do whatever you have to do and hit that button and subscribe.
Subscribe, like and subscribe. So yes, absolutely, and we love that you're watching the show, but it really does make a difference when we, for you and for us, when you subscribe. First of all, when you subscribe, you ensure that you won't miss any of our great episodes, our interviews, the around the towns, the fashion hacks, the meal of the week, all of that. We have all new things, mostly all new things planned for this season, and lots of great information, lots of great places and spaces that we'll be visiting. So when you subscribe, you get notifications, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then when you subscribe, it helps us to grow our show. So it's a win-win for all of us. Now, we want to remind you that the Elevate Show puts up a new episode each week, usually Sunday evenings. And so go to the channel and look for the new episode for the week. You can also live stream us on by going to www.decab25.com, or you can catch us if you live in the Atlanta, Georgia area, specifically if you live in DeKalb County. You can go, you can see us on DeKalb 25 at 7 p.m. Every Sunday night. So lots of ways to see the Elevate Talk Show. Anything else, H?
Yes, so thank you for watching our show. It wouldn't be a show without an audience.
That's right.
And we just need you to like, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us today. We'll see you next time on the Elevate Talk Show. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.